HoloNetAudio.com.
A long time ago.
You mean right now?
This is not logical.
You're listening to Dark Empire Radio, a podcast with news and discussion from the Star Wars and Star Trek fan communities, and more. Welcome to the second episode of the all-new, reincarnated Dark Empire Radio. I am the brutal one to some, Joe to most, but friendly enough to everyone. Glad to have you here. Like I mentioned in our last episode, we're spicing things up a bit in this new version of DER, talking about both of the Star Wars and Star Trek fan communities. And in this episode, we're going to be chatting with someone who is heading up a Star Trek fan audio project that I've been partially involved with, and later on, we address an ongoing travesty within the Star Wars franchise. Well, some of the things that Dark Empire Radio did back in the day, about 12 to 15 years ago, were funny Star Wars-themed commercial parodies, which I carried over with me and used during the 7 or so years that I helped on the 501st cast. Now, Dark Empire Radio, just like everything else on HoloNet Audio, will always be ad-free. Except for this.
And now a word from one of our sponsors.
Are you currently having pest issues? Do you have those wretched Jawas getting into your trash? How about Minox draining your power couplings? Or maybe it's just a pesky Gungan flat out getting on your last nerve.
You said people gonna die?
Then simply call Dark Side Pest Control.
Wipe them out. All of them.
We are the leader of exterminations in the entire galaxy. No pest is too big or too small. Just ask the citizens of the planet Alderaan. See there, you can't, because we took care of that pest problem already. So again, if you've got a pest problem, simply call Dark Side Pest Control at our toll-free number, 1-555-Death Star. That's 1-555-Death Star.
We have a guest now. Don't keep the audience waiting.
My guest for this episode is involved with a Star Trek fan audio project that I've had a lot of fun lending my voice to called ENT1701, and I wanted to bring him here to talk about it. His name is Wallace Shabazz. How you doing?
Hey, man, Joe, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. Now, in a nutshell, what is ENT1701 specifically about, and what is your involvement with it?
It is a reboot, a clean reboot of the Star Trek timeline starting in the year 2265, which, as we know, is when Jim Kirk was handed over the Enterprise from Pike. You and so many other Trek fans are a lot deeper in the lore than me, so I spent the last 4 years rewatching and digging into everything the original series. And to bring this show, which is a reboot set in what I call the Genesis timeline, sort of get my own interpretation of, that era and that series.
Oh, wonderful. And I've enjoyed voicing Mr. Sulu on there. And I believe you're voicing Captain Kirk, is that right?
Yes, I am. I am the voice of Kirk, which was daunting. Thankfully, no one's told me I'm terrible yet. But yeah, that is, besides voicing Kirk, I also, executive produce the show, edit the show, as well as a writer on the show.
So you do all of the sound editing as well?
Definitely. Which is my first time ever doing sound editing.
I have a lot of experience doing that over here at HoloNet Audio. But back to ENT1701. Now, first of all, who writes the scripts? Now, you said you do the sound editing, the executive producing. Who does the script writing for that?
For the episodes that are done so far, I've written the 2 that are out and the next upcoming 3. I do have a small team of writers, and for anyone listening, I am always looking for writers. But there's me, the voice of Sam Kirk, Matt, who's also a writer on the show. He's got a great episode coming up for season 2. Adam Robeson, who's a guest actor on the first 2 episodes. He's also on the writing team. So we got a nice little team. Matt Berry actually wrote the Mud episode. I'm sorry, I did not write that episode. Matt Berry actually wrote that episode. But he's out on the right team anymore. I wish he would come back. He wrote that episode and disappeared on me.
That was a great episode. So you have an episode 0 and an episode 1 out right now. I know you're working on an episode 2 because Sulu had a lot of lines in that episode. And as opposed to episode 3, which I also recorded a few lines for, but I think episode 2 is going to have a lot of Sulu in that one. So I'm very excited and looking forward to when that one comes out. Well, on ENT1701, Pike has moved on. He's Admiral Pike now, if I'm not mistaken, or he's a flag officer. But Una Chin Riley is still there as the ship's exec, just as on Strange New Worlds. And Sam Kirk, James T's little bro, he's a junior science officer to Mr. Spock, just as on Strange New Worlds. Now, in the original series, which I grew up with thanks to syndication, TNG came out when I was in high school, Sam Kirk was a civilian who tragically meets his end on the planet Deneva. Now, do you see ENT1701 exploring the departure from the Enterprise of either or both of these characters, Una Chin Riley or Sam Kirk? Or do you plan to wait and see what happens on Strange New Worlds as we approach the final season? Or are you doing something completely different?
I love Strange New Worlds, and honestly, ENT1701 wouldn't exist without that and the audio drama Excelsior. But I want to be unencumbered from all that. I want to continue to do what I see this crew being. I don't know yet if Una's going to be around, because you're not the first person to ask me that. Same with Sam. Same with I believe because like Chapel has a lot more time, I guess audio time on this show so far. Mabenga's got a lot more time. I don't know yet. I think it's gonna be with the feel, the cast, how things go, and how I feel as a storyteller when we get there. I know through season 2 they're both there.
Well, good. Now, you say season 1 and season 2, so how many episodes are going to be in each season, since we're only just a couple episodes in so far?
I believe I have 8 for season 1, and I think I'm going to do 8 episodes per season. The plan is 5 seasons for now, and then we have some special stuff after season 5 before we do some other stuff.
Wow, so you've got some long-term plans going here.
Definitely.
I like it. I like it very much. And you didn't just willy-nilly pick people for the roles in this. I remember that I auditioned for this. I had to send in recordings of myself. So what was the audition, since you executive produced this, what was the audition process like? Was it really tedious? How did that come to be?
It was more nerve-wracking just because I wanted to do the characters justice. I'm aware that I'm still very much a ensign when it comes to Star Trek lore and the understanding of what Roddenberry created and what so many other creators have molded into this thing that we love. So I was really just making sure I got the character voices right for when I sent out for the auditions so that people were even interested. And thankfully, so many people were interested. I think I got very lucky with people like you and Rob Buck and Hunter Farhat, who's on our other show and on this. And so many other, Helen Fullerton, who plays Una, who's amazing, just one of the most amazing actresses I've ever gotten to work with. I just got lucky that all these great actors were like, "Oh, I want to audition," and I got to listen to that. There's so many people I had to turn down who I'm like, "No, I'm going to use you later. Please don't be disheartened." So, I think I would say it's a bit of luck and just a bit of determination.
There you go. Well, great. And yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised. Some of the voice talent on there sounds great. They really sound like they have some experience behind the mic. I do, and I'm sure that some of the others do as well. Do you, so this is your first time sound editing and really kind of your first exploration as a Star Wars fan into doing something like this. So what was the impetus for this? What got you wanting to do this kind of a project?
It's like you said, I was more of a Star Wars guy growing up. My daughter's obsessed with Vader. She just watched Revenge of the Sith for Father's Day with me, and she was loving it. Where I got a big Empire poster in my living room. But my cousin, who was a big influence on me, who was like a second dad, he was always a Trek guy. He grew up with, like you said, when you were in high school, he grew up with the Next Generation. I call him Black Picard all the time because he's so much just like Jean-Luc. And his love for it and me being reminded of that, and then with Strange New Worlds, I kind of just all kind of hodgepodge together. And I was like, well, I should do that because, and then like I said, I listened to Excelsior, which is an amazing show. If no one's listened to Star Trek Excelsior, go listen to that. It really helped me kind of mold what I wanted this to be. And from there, I just decided, hey, let's do it.
I have heard, not all of it, but I have heard the Star Trek Excelsior audio drama, fan audio drama that's out there. And it is pretty well done. I think they kind of went on their own as far as the story-wise. It seemed to me with ENT1701, you're trying to kind of parallel Strange New Worlds as far as canon goes, whereas with Excelsior, I think they kind of went and started telling their own story. Yeah. At least that's the impression I get.
I think it was a mix at that point. I think they started before Star Trek came back. They were in that wilderness period, and then when they came back, things were completely different. So they were like, but as far as your point, I think I kind of keep things parallel because I don't want to upset anybody. If you go on Star Trek Reddit, they are not nice to Strange New Worlds.
You're always going to have detractors. You're going to have people that love what you do and people that that don't like what you do, and you can't please everybody, no matter how hard you try. And it's your show. And now I've been putting fan fiction to audio, so fan audio. I've been narrating and sound editing this stuff here on HoloNetAudio.com for since 2013, 13 years, and there's a lot there, to listen to. And I'm glad to have ENT1701, your YouTube channel, linked up on our Links and Friends page there on the website, because I really admire folks such as yourself that do similar work to what I do, not just because we're fans, but it's because, and I've said this before, it's folks like us that keep the franchises that we love going. It's the fans that keep the business in business. And it's ironic because they need to reach out to new fans if they want to stay in business. But we're the ones that keep the old Trek and the old Star Wars, what we grew up with, alive.
Yeah, that's well said.
And keeping the fan audio, fan fiction, fan films, all of that stuff is just an expression. What we do is just a love letter to what we enjoy, and it keeps that alive. Well, how can someone find, of course, I just said you're linked up on the Links and Friends page there at holonetaudio.com, but let's say that I'm listening to this podcast for the very first time, and I'm curious, I'm intrigued, where can I go and listen to ENT1701?
We're definitely available wherever you get your podcast. If we have our RSS feed hooked up, which I didn't know that was a thing before I started doing this. Shout out to the guys on Reddit who helped me with that. But we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Cast, we're on Rocket Cast, and of course we're on good old reliable YouTube, which we get a huge majority of our listeners from. So wherever you can find us. I'm also I post the episodes on Facebook. Wherever anyone can find us, we are there.
I think if you just look up ENT1701 on YouTube, you'll find it. But your YouTube channel, which hosts ENT1701, is your name, Wallace Shabazz. And I've noticed that the last thing that went up on there is a Doctor Who fan audio. So you're doing more than just Star Trek.
Yes. The Doctor Who Reborn is the companion show, pun very much intended, to Enterprise 1701. And we just dropped the pilot. That has Hunter Farhad, who played in the pilot in the episode 0, of 1701, and he is amazing as Theta Sigma, who will eventually become the guy we know as the Doctor. So yeah, it's exciting things happening.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, it has been an absolute thrill being your Lieutenant Sulu. And have you ever met George Takei or any of the Star Trek actors, been to a convention and come across any of these wonderful actors?
Unfortunately, Shatner, Brent Spiner, and my boy Frakes were all in Detroit last month. But like I said, I'm getting custody of my kid. I was mentioned to you before we started recording. So, having her school, I just was like, I don't have the money right now. So, it broke my heart because I have the big Barnes & Noble edition of the original series that they did like 10 years ago. And I was going to have Shatner sign it and just tell him, hey, I play you and I try to do a good job, but hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll get another shot.
You never know. I mean, yeah, he was just in New York not long ago with the original series set tour that James Cawley does. And, of course, James Cawley himself was Captain Kirk on Star Trek Phase 2 fan production there, which you can find on YouTube. And I think if you just look that up, that's that and Star Trek Continues are both excellent continuations of the original series. But yeah, don't feel bad. I mean, just getting to a convention for me is difficult these days, but I did come across, and I went to a convention, I want to say it was in 2011 in Texas. I went to a fan days or a fan convention there, and George Takei was there. There were other celebrities as well. And so I haven't met any others. I did see Leonard Nimoy at San Diego Comic-Con years and years ago, but I didn't have a chance to get a photo. And of course, getting autographs and photos, costs money. But I got George Takei to sign something, and I used to have a collection of autographs all over my walls. I don't really do that anymore, but I got George Takei to sign a small picture, and I felt like I had to ask him something. I was doing a podcast then, but the audio didn't turn out, unfortunately. But I asked him a loaded question because I couldn't think of really anything to ask him. And I said, what was your favorite memory playing Sulu on the original Star Trek series? And I kind of thought he'd blow that off or come up with something silly. And he did. He had this, he didn't blow it off, but he got this really sly look in his eye. And he looked at me and he said, the best part about playing Sulu on Star Trek was that more than once I got to see Bill Shatner without a shirt on. Oh my. Everyone around laughed, and I thought I'd recorded it, but all I recorded was just a bunch of background noise. So that didn't, unfortunately, pan out. But that's one memory that sticks with me. And that's the cool thing about conventions and getting out there and meeting folks is that, or even online, doing what we do, you create memories that just stick with you and they last. You never forget it, whether you meet a celebrity or just meeting folks like you and I are chatting right now. You don't forget these kinds of things. And that's why I love podcasting, is because it's there, it's recorded, and it's there for posterity. And it's amazing. I agree with that. Well, Wallace, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on Dark Empire Radio, and now everybody knows about ENT1701, hopefully, or we've helped to get the word out a little bit. I think you've got a great project going on. And this is an honor. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I always appreciate Fan Audio Productions. You take care, and we'll chat again. Bye, Sulu. All righty. Hailing frequencies out.
Intriguing.
Well, in our last episode, during my conversation with Mark Newbold, I mentioned Star Wars actor Alan Fling. Alan, a longtime friend to Dark Empire Radio, has participated in discussions with us in the past. In fact, in the Retro Discussions playlist at darkempireradio.com, there is a fun triangle discussion we had in 2013 or 2014 with Alan called The Significance of Canonicity, in which we talked about the importance of continuity within Star Wars and what it means to the fans. And of course, the subject of Alan's character with a spoken line in Return of the Jedi came up. The bridge officer on the Super Star Destroyer Executor who said, "Sir, we've lost our bridge deflector shield," still to this day does not have an official character name or background story. And I think that is one of the greatest travesties within the Star Wars franchise. Think about it. If so many background characters, most of whom don't even have any spoken dialogue at all, can get official names, official short character backgrounds, and even action figures, then it seems to me, especially after all these decades now, that Alan's character needs a name. Of course, I have no explanation, officially or otherwise, for why this severe negligence, let's call it what it is, still exists on the part of Lucasfilm. Of course, with the great takeover that took place in 2013, perhaps blame can now be shifted toward the mouse. But who or what to blame isn't the real issue here. It is about what is fair. Fair to Alan, fair to the fans. It is simply not fair to have a character with a pivotal spoken line in Return of the Jedi, to not have an official name and short background story like everyone else does. So, fellow HoloNet audio narrator Megan Niesink and I gave him one. A character name and a backstory. It's not official, it is fan fiction. But as fans, we believe that something we love and cherish, in this case Star Wars, should be handled with care, like any fragile package, before it breaks. The lack of a character name for Alan's bridge officer character may have fallen through the cracks over the years, but it hasn't gone unnoticed by everyone, and I call upon those who have the ability to let Lucasfilm know about how not right, how not fair that has been over the decades, and it needs to be corrected. Well, in the meantime, here is Bridge Controller, the unofficial story of Alan's character, narrated with music and sound effects from HoloNet Audio. This is fan fiction only. Bridge Controller, a Star Wars fan audio presentation, written by Joe Mignano and Megan Niesink. For Alan, whose character from Return of the Jedi deserved both a name and a backstory a long time ago.
The Superstar Destroyer Executor, its bridge smashed and exposed to space, took a sudden bow-first plunge toward the Death Star it was orbiting. The self-sacrifice of a single A-Wing pilot had seemingly turned the tide of battle above Endor. Not only did it take out the Executor, but in doing so it also rendered the firepower of the barely operational battle station below completely inoperative, all at once. As surviving Imperial ships began to retreat into hyperspace, it became readily apparent who the victor of this battle, and perhaps even the war itself, would be.
A lieutenant commander in the Imperial Navy and senior bridge controller aboard the Superstar Destroyer Executor. That was my title and my job. A position of immense prestige and responsibility. Something to be proud of. And yet, not a single person ever referred to me by name. How ironic to think that, as I feel the split-second horror of oxygen escaping and my body being hurled toward the openness of infinity, that in all the years I spent serving the Empire, my name would never have any meaning. Alas, I shall be remembered, if at all, by my rather unacknowledged role aboard Lord Vader's flagship.
19 years ago, galactic mid-rim world of Naboo.
Reconstruction had been going very slowly since the invasion of the planet by the droid armies of the Trade Federation. Naboo was still the idyllic-looking paradise it had always been known for, but economically, the population had never fully recovered from the droid invasion, despite its unwavering loyalty to the Republic, and now the Empire. It would seem that the Emperor Palpatine had forgotten his roots and cared very little for the world he once called home. Naboo was nevertheless no exception in terms of patriotic duty when it came to doing its part for the Empire, and I had no objection to it. It was overwhelmingly felt by the population of my planet, both humans and Gungans alike, that the allegiance we had for the Old Republic should be carried over to the Empire, despite our modest recovery efforts over the years. Serving the Empire didn't sound so bad to me. I'd been helping my father with his pleasure boat business since I was a small boy. Year after year I'd be sailing his yacht over the same stretches of Nubian Ocean for fare-paying passengers. It bored me more and more as time went by. I silently daydreamed prophetic visions of how I would stop sailing amongst the waves and go on instead to become a daring adventurer along the lanes of hyperspace. The doldrums of my boredom quickly dissipated the day my dad took the boat out without me, on an unscheduled charter with unknown wayfarers also aboard, never to be seen again. There was no wreckage, no distress call, nothing. And, as a consequence, no more family business.
Capital city of Theed.
Suddenly creditless, I strolled through the picturesque cityscape of government buildings and administrative architecture, pining for employment, wherever I might find it. I needed work, not just to support myself, but my poor mother as well, and I intended to pounce upon whatever opportunity presented itself. At the center of town, amid the hustle and bustle of people and hover traffic going about their business, I caught sight of a hollow advertisement projected onto the flowing mist of what was once a simple decorative fountain. Now the fountain was being used as a way to display imperial imagery, what some might call propaganda. And it fascinated me. The unmistakable silhouette of a Star Destroyer appeared to be headed right for me, accompanied by a voice speaking about how the Empire needs good officers, and how one could establish a well-compensated and rewarding career by attending the Imperial Academy. Then the voice of the Emperor himself spoke.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Well, that did it for me. I immediately paid a visit to the local Imperial recruiting station and declared my desire to become an officer in service to the Empire. Before long, I was a cadet.
Imperial Superstar Destroyer Executor.
I couldn't believe my fortune at being posted aboard one of the most prestigious ships in the Imperial fleet. My younger days of navigating the seas of Naboo on my father's yacht became an invaluable skill to me in my present occupation as a bridge controller. My duties not only include navigation, but also overseeing most bridge functions, answering directly to the ship's captain or the deck officer on duty, which is sometimes me. Lieutenant Commander Galen Flynn. It's still hard for me to believe that I rose through the ranks over the years to what I am today. But here I am. If my mother could see me now. My father would have wanted me to stay on Naboo and continue helping his charter business, had he lived. But my mother supported me, regardless of my career choice.
You can be whoever you want to be, but whatever you choose to do, be the best you can be. And you will be remembered for it.
She encouraged me to represent Naboo and make a name for myself on the galactic stage. That is why I am here now, even if at the current moment my stage is actually a control pit. But from here, I am in charge of all systems aboard this mighty dreadnought. Of course, all of that no longer matters. Rebel ships are everywhere, and I've just informed the Admiral we've lost our bridge deflector shields. A rebel fighter. So, this is how it ends. I did my part, and I got pretty far doing it. That is what matters most. I see that now, and I can live with that. Pardon the pun. And that just about does it for this installment of DER. Are you a member of the Star Wars or Star Trek fan community? Do you have a podcast, a cosplay, or a costume club that you belong to? Or maybe you have a collection of rare memorabilia that you'd like to brag about. Perhaps you write good, clean fan fiction. We like that sort of thing over at HoloNetAudio.com. And by the way, DarkEmpireRadio.com, HoloNetAudio.com, they're the same website. And Dark Empire Radio is part of the HoloNet Audio Podcast Network, just throwing that out there. Well, anyway, if any of that stuff I mentioned applies to you, if you're a Star Wars fan or a Star Trek fan and you've got something that you like to do with your fandom, I would like to talk to you, because I enjoy our fan community. Drop me a line at darkempireradio@aim.com if you'd like to be a guest on this podcast. You could also email me at darkempireradio@aol.com. That works as well. Dark Empire Radio is a presentation of the HoloNet Audio Podcast Network. Visit us at holonetaudio.com or look for HoloNet Audio on your favorite podcast platform. For even more discussion and Wars and Trek fun, check out and join our forum at forum.holonetaudio.com. You can also listen to Dark Empire Radio directly at darkempireradio.com. This podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only and is not affiliated in any way with Star Wars or Star Trek or their respective property owners. All other original content on this podcast, unless otherwise indicated, belongs to HoloNet Audio. So there.